When we fail to set boundaries for self and others and hold others accountable, we feel used and mistreated. That's what Brené Brown tells us. And like I said before, how you love and accept yourself is how you teach the world around you to love and accept you. And when we don't set boundaries, what do we invite? A lack of respect. And that's why this session is so important, especially for us women, to learn how to set boundaries for ourselves and for others so that we can practice self-love, we can keep working on ourselves and expanding who we are. To do this, I have two incredible women. I know I've been calling all of them incredible, but what do I say? They are incredible. So the first person, at SHEmantra, the phrase ignite the spark is synonymous with her name. She is the founder of Ignite the Spark. She's a transformation coach and trainer. She coaches leaders and coaches with big visions to step into their full power to leave a remarkable legacy. She is known as India's first expert on shadow mastery and has been conducting workshops on this beautiful tool for the 3 years. And as SHEmantrans, we've all experienced it. She has impacted over 20,000 lives through her numerous interventions, and the spiritual angle that she brings into her work is what makes it so special. Today, she is here with us to help you ignite your spark and share with you how to set personal and professional boundaries. Please help me welcome Alpa Kapadia to the stage, please. Yay.
Hello,
Hi, Alpa. How are you?
I'm good and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's all of you giving me the energy. So thank you. Okay. So are you ready to meet her co-host? She is a women's leadership coach, facilitator, and I love this, courage catalyst, and founder of Interact Consulting. She is passionate in helping leaders lead with courage, purpose, and authenticity. Having rebuilt her own life and business from scratch after going through a series of life-changing experiences, Farah knows how to live a meaningful life and offers her mantras for your success. She guides you to places you were too scared to visit before, and she's an excellent companion in your journey of self-discovery. Spend any time with her and you will quickly pick up her superpower, unshakable courage. Her question to all of you today is, there's an incredible opportunity in front of you today, the chance to live a life of purpose and courage. So what part of your life is asking for you to be more courageous? Wow. Don't you want to meet her? Welcome to the stage, Farah Ismail. And remember, as our speakers speak today, please show them love through the reactions and the chat box. Hi, Farah. So nice to see you.
Hello, and hello, everyone. So excited to spend this afternoon with all of you.
And like I always say, we are sharing here without any boundaries and full stop. So you guys are but showing us how to set boundaries, right? It's interesting. So over to you guys. I'm off.
Kavita, before you go off, thank you for your generosity. Just love what you're doing.
Thank you. Okay, the stage is yours.
Hi, Farah. So good to see you.
We've made it. Amazing.
So, Farah, why is boundaries important to you as a topic? Why boundaries, and why are we here together today? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Absolutely. But firstly, I wanted to share with everyone here that like many others, I've had my share of roller coasters. The highs and lows in my life, both personally and professionally. And when I look back to connect the dots, I noticed that in my lows, I stayed in situations I was stuck, situations that didn't serve me. And I had these feelings that I did not deserve to have the life that I desired. And I kept telling myself that I will do something about this one day. And then I became this superwoman balancing so many things in the air, business owner, single mom, I was trying to do too much without caring about my needs. And I think what changed for me was when a mentor took me aside one day and said, I see you working very hard, but I don't see you enjoying yourself. Unless you work at changing your world, you are never going to be able to change someone else's world. That hit home for me. And that's when I realized what will change my world. And that was a turning point. And since then, I've been working at setting boundaries and that allow me to prioritize my needs and practicing self-care and self-love like we learned this morning. So personally, this is very, very important to me, Alpa. What about you?
Farah, I've been a people pleaser most of my life. So I actually, that crown they have for the nice girl. Oh, I was like a hands down winner for decades. And finally, I was appreciated by everyone. And by the time I turned 35, I had really ignored my own needs so much. And I was doing so much in my life to make others happy. By the time I was 35, I was just exhausted. I was so done. I was so unhappy. And that's when I heard this term boundaries. And I realized at that age that I could actually say no to someone. I didn't even know that I had that choice earlier. So when I started pasting boundaries, I realized that as I ensured that I was not saying no to myself when I was saying yes to someone else, my life started becoming more fulfilled. And it started slow, but as it went ahead, the whole quality of my life, like you were sharing, completely changed. And I got so hooked to it. I got so amazed at the power boundaries has in the personal transformation journey. I started talking about it and sharing it because the one thing I saw is that I had learned it from the lineage of patriarchy that is there in India somewhere. And I was very committed to changing that for as many women as I could. So it's really, really a very passionate topic for me.
That's wonderful. And I think that's why we're here. Our aim is to together to share and actually help others to get curious about boundaries and really explore various signs that help us to really pick these weak boundaries that we have and some tools that will help you set boundaries like a pro. So how many of you would like that? Put yes in the chat and we are ready to start.
Super. That's a lot of yeses, Farah.
Lovely.
So let's get started without much ado. Today, like Kavita was saying, it's a session to learn. And as we are learning, we're going to be giving you a lot of takeaways to take back with you as well. Are we ready to dive into boundaries? Now let's experience boundaries in action first. Yeah. So I'm inviting all of you to imagine two scenarios. First scenario. Each of you are sitting in a crowded marketplace. You have a table which is yours. On this table are your feelings, emotions, time, money, resources. All this is lying. It's a crowded place. Many people are coming. They want to see what you have. And because it's available for everyone, someone is taking away your time. Someone is taking away your emotions. Someone is taking away your money, your judgments. And you're trying to keep it because it's yours. It's your stuff. It's your money. It's your resources. You're negotiating with someone. You're fighting with someone. You're making someone understand as well as you can. You're being impatient with someone. How do you feel at this moment? So I want you to put in the chat box, how do you feel in this scenario? As people are taking away, worn out, absolutely. Overwhelmed, drained, hassled, depressed, agitated, frustrated. Yes, absolutely. So this is how we actually do live our lives. We have all this available for us and people are having demands on it. Let's take another scenario. Now let's take a scenario where you're sitting in that same crowded marketplace, but you have a glass cabin which is closed from all sides. Your stuff is lying the same way that it was, but there is a glass protection, like a bubble. Nobody can enter that. And that glass cabin has a small door. And whoever wants your wares has to knock. You check with them. Are they your well-wishers? Do they really love you? Do they care about you? If yes, you let them come in. And even after they come in, they ask for your permission before taking any of your energy. And then there's an exchange. You give something, you take something, and they leave. And this continues with everybody who wants something of you. They have to pass through your boundary. And now I'd like to hear from you in the chat box. How would you feel in this scenario? So much mental peace, in control, respected, safe, empowered. So beautiful. So beautiful. Peace, calm, in control. Do you see this shift? It's such a stark shift when we start living intentionally with our boundaries. As of now, we are winging it. We are getting into situations, meetings, relationships without setting intentional boundaries. So when you actually set that protective bubble around yourself, it completely shifts your way of being. And today, Farah and me are going to share with you how we can make this happen for you. I hope you're ready for that. I'm sure you are. So I'm going to move on to, if this was so simple, we all know, okay, yeah, we should have boundaries, obviously, but why don't we do it? Any ideas before I move to the next slide? Why don't we set boundaries? I'd like to hear from you. Here, yes, that's right, Hima. Here's what was my thing. Yeah. Yeah, you guys are amazing. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Wonderful. Absolutely bang on, you guys are. So I'm just going to bucket it into 3 overall categories why we don't do this, because it's easier to remember, isn't it? So the reasons why we don't set boundaries, the very first one is lack of self-love. When you don't love yourself enough, when your inner child is when your inner being, your inner voice is so harsh and so critical, like Shikha was telling you in the morning, you tell yourself, you're so dumb, you're stupid, why can't you get this right? And you don't have self-love, would you protect something that you don't love? You won't. You will only protect that which you do love, like you protect your children, your jewelry, your electronics, your house. What you love, you protect, right? But when there's no love for the self, no boundaries. Isn't that true? And do keep putting your answers in the comments. I may not completely look at it, but I am so going to read every single comment after the session is over. Yeah. So this lack of self-love is one of the biggest reasons why we don't set boundaries. And that is why we had the self-love session before this session. Because if you've not learned to love yourself, you're never going to set boundaries. So very, very important, the beautiful things that Shikha and Saloni shared with you, to implement that before we go on to set boundaries. The next reason why we do not set boundaries is depersonalization. Don't get confused by this. Depersonalization basically means that you don't feel home in your own body and space. So you don't feel safe in your own inner world. Why is this? Maybe you have gone through some experiences, some trauma, some hurt, which has kind of been a bit too much for you to manage. And let's be honest, all of us have gone through our share of that in life. And at that point, when you have gone through the trauma, somewhere your brain just shuts down because it cannot feel so much. And your brain is wired to keep you safe. And because of that, it just closes up. Like, I don't want to feel anything. This is why many women I have seen feel numb. We start off in our youth with a lot of energy. We love a lot of beauty, songs, good things. But as we get into our 30s and 40s, there's a numbness which comes in. We don't quite enjoy the songs that we used to earlier. We don't enjoy the things that we used to earlier. And we just feel very hard and brittle inside. Give me a yes in the comments if you felt this in your life. Have you felt this numbness? And yeah. I acknowledge all of you for your courage and for showing up for a session like this. It is going to change your world, and I'm so grateful for all of you to be there. So depersonalization is the next reason. It's a complicated term, but it's not so complicated. It basically is that you don't feel at home in your own body, and why would you protect something which is not your own home, right? You're not going to protect the neighbor's house. You're going to protect your own house. But if you don't feel that your own house is your own house, you won't protect it. That's what depersonalization is. The third reason is feelings of unworthiness. When someone in your life, when you were younger, or yourself have told yourself, you're not worthy, you have to work really hard to be loved. You've got such poor marks, you're so fat, you're so ugly, you're so rude, you're not good with sports, you're not good at academics. A feeling of unworthiness creeps in. And even though we spend our whole lives trying to prove that we are worthy, deep down, that voice persists. These are the three big reasons why we do not set boundaries in life. And how do we know that we have weak boundaries? Yeah. It can be so many things. It's such a vague concept, no boundaries. How do we know really that we do have weak boundaries? So I've split that up into two for you. The signs of weak boundaries, when you have weak boundaries with yourself. You hate saying no. How many of us hate saying no? I want to see a show of hands. Yeah. How many of us just hate saying no, right? I mean, ask us to do anything, we would rather say yes, even if it kills us, but we just don't want to say no. So we hate saying no. That's a sign of weak boundaries. Women especially, I've seen, we feel so exhausted and tired most of the time. You know, there are studies which say that how, especially women in India, are taking on the major burden of the household responsibilities along with their professional responsibilities. So there's always an exhaustion because it is taking on so much. So feeling of tired and exhaustion. You often say, if I don't do it, nobody else will. And then you garb it in perfectionism. You say, oh, I'm such a perfectionist. Nobody can do it as well as I can do it. Is that familiar? Yes? Yeah. So often we say, if I don't do it, na kuch kaam hota hi nahi hai. Agar main nahi karungi, hone hi nahi wala. Yeah, very familiar. We've heard this so often. That's a sign of weak boundaries as well. And somewhere you don't feel as respected as you should. So you feel people don't respect you as much as they should. You expect more respect. So these are signs of weak boundaries with the self. And what are the signs of weak boundaries with others in your relationships? You know, you've heard so often that the relationship you have with yourself sets the tone for every other relationship that you have. And if you don't have weak boundaries, you don't have good boundaries with yourself, it's going to extend to everything else. So if you feel that your relationships are full of drama and conflict and kuch na kuch masala ho raha hai, every day it's like a new Bollywood movie. Some or the other saga is happening and it's keeping you really busy and engaged in this drama. It's not really the fault of your life, or it's not that you are unlucky. It's just that you do not have good boundaries. You are somewhere enjoying that drama because it keeps you busy and it stops you from putting in the efforts to set boundaries. I know it sounds harsh. I know. But that is the truth. And if you agree with me, please do share that yes, you agree that we create drama in our lives because we crave it. Second is you're always a little snappy. You know, if you are not saying no to others, somewhere you are saying no to yourself. When you're saying no to yourself and you have lack of self-love, anybody asking something of you feels like a lot. So for example, you go to the gym and you pick up 20 kilos, 30 kilos of weight and you're feeling really good and you're feeling amazing. The next day, your muscles are sore, obviously. And then you go and try and even pick up 5 kilos in the gym with the same hand and you're like, I just can't do it because it's burnt out, that muscle is torn. Physically, this is very apparent to us. But we don't realize that emotionally, we are carrying such a huge baggage of incomplete fights, grudges, angers, all of this with us. And all these unprocessed emotions kind of are like a heavy bag that we are carrying. And we are carrying it for so long, for decades, many of us are carrying this resentment and anger. And then after years of carrying that resentment and anger, when someone even puts one small pebble on your bag, you just crash. And we say the last straw broke the camel's back. something like that. So because we're really carrying on so much of unprocessed emotion or emotional baggage, we get snappy, we overreact. That is also because of weak boundaries. You're very scared to lose people in your life who think people will just not like you or they will leave you if you say no to them or don't do what they want of you. And you hate it when people do not like you or they don't appreciate you. So let's quickly do a poll. Can we have the poll up, please? Let's each of us be honest with ourselves. Tick all the questions that apply to you. Which apply to you, just go ahead and tick it. This poll is not, okay, I'm seeing the results probably. Okay, I'm seeing the results. Wow. So you can tick all of them that apply to you. Amazing, amazing. You guys are being so courageous. Hats off to you guys. So I can see that, yeah, most people hate saying no. They feel tired very often. Every single one of them, I'm seeing so many responses. And that is true. Okay, wonderful. So 44% have participated. I'm going to leave it on till you guys can finish it. That's not a problem at all.
Alpa, we can't see the poll. I mean, at least I can't.
Okay.
I can.
Visible.
I'm able to see the results actually. I don't know why.
Yeah.
We'll just show you the results, Alpa. We are going to end the poll, then the results will be visible.
Yeah. So go ahead and end the poll, please.
Okay, I'm ending the poll
Okay, great.
and sharing the results, right?
Yes, please do that. Super. Yeah. So you all can see that all of us are in the same boat together. So that is one thing that you can see here, that we all are in this journey together. So let's see how do we overcome this. Would you all like to overcome this? Are you all happy with this scenario in life? Tell me. Would you like to overcome? Write overcome in the chat box. Overcome. Yes, no, I'll not get it. Just say overcome. Yes, you're ready to overcome this. Super. Great. So let's move ahead. The reason we set boundaries is not because we hate other people or we want to offend other people or hurt other people. We really set boundaries because we have the courage to love ourselves. And if that means we have to disappoint somebody else, so be it. But the intention is not to hurt others. Yeah. So that's the core context of setting boundaries, that you are doing it because your life is important. You have only one life. You cannot live this life trying to keep other people happy. You're going to live this life on your terms. And you're an adult now. There's no adult telling you what to do and what not to do. When you were a child, that happened. Now it's time for you to take charge of your own life. There are two aspects actually to setting boundaries. Today, each of us can go back and suddenly start acting different. Say, for example, you want to set a boundary with your partner. And you go and tell your partner that this is what you want to set. It's not acceptable that they make a plan without checking with you. And your partner will be like, what's got into you? We've been doing it for so long. Why suddenly this change, right? It's not so much the doing. It is the space that you operate from. So it is really your being, how you are. And the first place to start is the self-love, the self-care, and the self-acceptance. Without these three, your words, your actions will be futile. They will not have any impact. So the first stage to work on is the being. You set boundaries like a warrior. When a warrior gets into war, they get in prepared. They have their suits, they have their stance, they are well rehearsed, they are well prepared, but they are not rebellious. They are not in an angry state of mind. They're cool as cucumbers, really calm. Then they can take the correct action when they have to set the boundaries. So the being aspect, embodying that self-love is so important. You know, in my own life, I thought I was really a nice person. I found myself to be so virtuous and so noble because I was doing things for others in their lives. But I realized that my words did not hold weight with people because I was such a doormat. People just said anything and they didn't think I would mind because I'm so nice, right? So I won't mind when I'm nice. And I used to think people who have problems are so bitchy, they're like so rude. And when I went deeper into my own shadows, I realized that actually they had good boundaries. They were not being rude, they were just being protective about their space. So the first place is work on your being, love yourself, care for yourself, accept yourself, eliminate your fears through things like inner work, journaling, healing, shadow mastery. All these things really make you face your fears and put you in a strong place. And then you do the communication. After that strong being is solid, you communicate your boundaries, and then you won't even have to speak. Even your look, even your stance will be enough to tell somebody that you mean business and they better not mess with you. So I want to see all of you in that power. And I'm going to invite my amazing co-facilitator, Farah, now to come and share with us how do we make this communication powerful. So would you all like to learn how to really communicate boundaries in a solid way that work for you? If yes, put that in the chat box and let's welcome Farah to the stage.
Thank you, Alpa. And I want to say the group is so vulnerable, sharing openly and asking some amazing questions. So we're going to get to that very soon. And I'm just left with this vision of the warrior. So I'm just staying with that because that's where I see a lot of power. So today, while we looked at all what comes in our way, I'm going to share with you 3 most powerful ways of setting boundaries. And once you understand how to apply it, you will feel liberated. These are 3 C's to setting courageous boundaries. And they are choice, compass, and communication. So choice, it all starts with giving ourselves permission, right? Firstly, we have to give ourselves permission to intentionally set these boundaries in our lives. Make them concrete. I'm sure you must have heard this, that you cannot pour from an empty cup. So yes, healthy boundaries are a way to fill your cup so that you can show up in your relationships with a lot more ease, spaciousness, freedom, respect. The second is compass, right? The key is to catch the signs of weak boundaries as soon as you can. And that happens with your inner compass. It's an amazingly accurate and reliable resource that is working all the time to guide us. Are we walking in our values? Are we being aligned? Am I not aligned to my values? And this internal compass, you can make it your GPS. Similar to the app where you can download self-love, right? And notice the emotions of how you're feeling moment by moment. And lastly, only when you know the direction you want and how you want to live your life, like that warrior, we can communicate it clearly and courageously with others. Boundaries are rooted in clear communication. What I discovered in my journey of living my dream life is that there's no one size fits all. So I just want to tell you that the approach to setting boundaries and protecting your schedule, you need to find what works for you. So we're going to share some ways and tools, of course, but remember, by not setting boundaries for ourselves, we let someone else's boundaries be more important. So how do we put it in practice? And I want to take you quickly through these 3. Let's first start by recognizing that you can't do it all right now. It's not possible to meet everyone's needs or to please everyone. Okay, so what you see on the left will truly make you be in this space of drained energy, feeling so frustrated. You'll be busy, but not productive. And when we shift that focus from I need to do this to focusing on what do I truly want? What are my core universal needs in this? That's when you're able to move to being frustrated to being more fulfilled. So how do you move from this place? Start by focusing on your needs. moment by moment, and begin to define your boundaries and make them concrete, we can show up in our relationships with more nourishment, more freedom, only when we do that. And I think it's time for us to try that. Okay, I want you to experience this. So let's try it now. I want you to take a paper and a pen and draw a large circle like the orange circle. This is what I filled up, so don't look at it. Draw a large circle on your paper. Inside the circle, I'd like you to write everything about your relationships that fills your tank, that nourishes you, that you truly enjoy. And on the outside, take a few minutes to think about what are all those things that drain you. So here are some of my examples, and I'll give you a few moments to do yours. What I truly enjoy is clear communication from my loved ones. We're a crazy family all over the world, and I can tell you it can be quite fuzzy with our communication. But I truly appreciate when there's clarity. Saying no to people, situations, etc. is really important to me. Having a daily routine, which I can do with a partner, is also something I truly love. And leaving my work stress away from my home is something that I truly want to hold dearly. Those are the things that it fills my cup. And what drains me is, working after hours on projects, and I'm guilty of doing that, instead of prioritizing my self-care. Or it could be worrying about what other people think, just when there's lack of respect and stuff like that. So I'd like you to take a few moments to take this paper and write and try this. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do this. What is it that fills your cup inside, nourishes you, fuels your tank inside the circle, and what drains you outside? I want to share that this circle represents your first step to draw that glass encasement that Alpa spoke about around you. Take a moment to look at what you have written there. This circle is unique to you, and you're the only person that can protect it. As you look at what you've written inside and the outside, ask yourself what you truly need in your life right now, and what do you want to let go of? What needs will be met if you choose to set a boundary? So think about that and remind yourself that we can't base our worthiness on others' approval. Only when we believe deep down that we are enough can we say enough. Feel free to share on the chat what is one thing you're taking away from beginning this journey of creating your, defining the limits. That's the first. Feel free to keep the chat on fire. Let me go to the second one. I spoke about a compass, right? After we make a choice to set boundaries for ourselves, having a clear compass is key because we need to stay true to what we value. What it means is to be fulfilled, to be playing at your highest potential, like Shilpa spoke about in the morning in her keynote. It's not leaving it to chance. And it's not making massive shifts. And I want to tell you, it's not the massive shifts that we need to do, but these 2mm shifts, right? That gives us giant results, giant leaps. Be gentle with yourself. So here's a tool I want to share with you on the screen, and it's not the ladder. We learned about the ladder earlier, but this is that simple line. When you talk about boundaries, you think about these lines. This is a leadership tool that is super helpful. The first practice is simply asking yourself, moment to moment, what space are you operating from? And locating yourself on this line. Are you operating above the line or are you below the line? And when you're below the line, you're doing everything that Alpa said, the victim behaviors. But when you're operating from the above the line, that's when you're the warrior, right? So simply ask yourself this in different moments and be kind to yourself, because we do get challenges and lots of situations, right? So get curious about what's filling your energy meter and what is draining it, and just start small. And if you feel stuck, ignoring it will not help. We can change it. I just want to say that. So I would like the audience here to share what's one thing, if you could focus on, when you look at that circle outside the circle, it will shift everything for you and take you out from being below the line and giving you more freedom. Share on the chat. What do you think you can do, that one thing? And that's what I want to invite you to do. Start small. And I want to give you this visual that you can take back. Just imagine the circle, these circles that I have on the screen. This circle are all your abilities, your values, your talents. And that X is a challenging situation or a person or something that you experience that is really pushing your limits, right? Behaviors. The goal here is to set small boundaries. So you set one, you have a date with that, work on it, and then begin to expand yourself. So the key is, who am I becoming in this process? I'm not just waiting to deal with one. I'm looking at how can I embrace and have this expansion we're talking about from limitation. How do we expand so we take a lot of these challenges by setting and communicating these boundaries? And that requires a lot of courage. It requires the confidence to communicate it. And I honestly believe this is one way in which you can start becoming more of yourself, right? So what about you? In fact, I wanted to share one example of a client of mine, and she surprised me immensely. She's a leader who built her experience and on this belief that she when she started working with me, she held the belief that whatever she starts with a powerful intent. So she's above the line. But when she loses momentum and her energy around it, it's very frustrating. And she stays below the line for a long time. So when we started communicating, she noticed that she had a pattern. And this pattern was what she was telling herself. I don't believe I can do this. I don't believe I can be consistent. How do I make my dreams and goals a reality? Oh my God, that was constantly a tape running in her head. Is it even possible? She realized that she was sabotaging her success by being below the line, self-doubt, blaming herself, etc. Her shift, she started making a commitment to not stay where she is, to see possibilities and be willing to disrupt and just shift from that space. And I want to say that she embraced a new identity, exactly what Saloni and In the Morning made us do. And you know what she kept calling herself? I am a possibilitarian. I had never heard that word before. And she believed that she can just do anything that she put her mind to. And she started noticing when she was above the line or below the line. So it's important to have that inner compass to drive us, right? So that's one of the ways in which we can shift from being frustrated to being more fulfilled. That's really worked for me as well. What about you? Are you willing to be a possibilitarian? Of course. Now we need the skills, right? So the third one is our communication. So we know that it's important to set boundaries for ourselves and for others. It can be challenging to communicate it. It's not always easy, because sometimes we have to say no. And how to say no without feeling guilty, that's the challenge. Often the easiest way is that we simply ignore it. Ignore our needs and pretend things are going to be okay. But it doesn't go away. The thing, however, is that when we deny our needs, what we're doing is we're denying who we truly want to be. How do we want to show up, right? So, and what do we want to create in this world? And I want you to focus on that. And since we're talking about Brené Brown, of course, I'm a big fan of hers. She says something very simple. Clear is kind, unclear is unkind. And that's why it's important for us to clearly communicate our boundaries. Because the more precise we are in expressing our boundaries, the more likely our boundaries will be respected. So no is a powerful word. Very, very powerful. And I want to say you can say no in so many ways. No. 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 You can say it in many ways, but you can even say it in different ways. You can say, my plate is full right now, but thank you for thinking of me. That's a no. That's a no. I have so much going on right now. I wouldn't be able to give it full attention. Perhaps next time, that's even a no. So I want to invite you to think about all the things you've written outside of your circle. What responses will work for you if you had to say no? Just think about it and make a note in your journal or your reflection sheet. But I want to say one thing. What I'm sharing on the screen right now is another tool I want to introduce to you. It's a really huge to practice, but I want to introduce it to you because it's not fun when we're enforcing boundaries, right? Without caring about the other person. You don't want to say, okay, I want to cut somebody out of my life. I want to just say no to this and never turn back. That's why we need the door. You need to be flexible. You need to be strong and rigid, but you need to have flexibility, right? So that's what this tool really brings for us. It's called NVC. It's non-violent communication, and it's by Marshall Rosenberg. And it has simply 4 elements when you're communicating, which is sharing your observation, expressing your feelings, what are your needs being met or not met, and then making a request. So this OFNR model can be used when expressing your own needs in a clear and a connected way. Because when you're setting boundaries, you want to keep the connection. You want to have empathy for yourself and others. You don't want to be that cutting off, right? So I want to say that the core of this tool is sharing what you're noticing. So if you had a video camera, you would actually share exactly what you're seeing. So you describe it as it is without adding your judgment or assumptions. So that's the way you express what you're noticing in a behavior, etc. And then you tap into your emotions. You share what you're feeling about something, and then what is it helping you to meet or not meet the need, and then make a request. Let me give you an example. The example I want to share is if you had someone who didn't do the dishes. Okay, I don't want to say I had this experience when someone didn't do the dishes. So it was easy for me to say, you didn't do the dishes. You don't care about me. Can you imagine if I was setting boundaries like that? How would it seem if I use NVC? So NVC is, as I said, OFNR, right? When I came back from work this week, I noticed the dishes in the sink every day. That's the observation. I feel exhausted and annoyed. That's the feeling. Because I really need support. I've just started working on. Would you be willing to come early and do the dishes this week? Is a request. That's how simple it is. Of course, it's not a simple practice. It takes lifelong learning of how can you express yourself. But I wanted to share this tool and invite you to start looking at Marshall's work. So before we jump right in, these were the 3 main things I wanted to talk to you. Choices, compass, how we communicate it. Feel free to share in the chat which among these 3 resonate with you the most. Where would you like to really work tomorrow? What's the first step you want to take? And as you do that, Alpa and I are going to share a few additional golden nuggets, golden mantras before we jump in. Okay? I want to stop this sharing. And we just want to share a few more that will help you to capture this. So the first golden nugget or the mantra that I want to share is start small. Absolutely key. Even if it's only a few minutes a day, carve out a few minutes for yourself because it's important to give yourself the gift of time, even if your life is incredibly full or busy. Breathe in, breathe out, and give yourself that space. Start small. Alpa?
Second one is overcome the feelings of guilt and anxiety that you feel as you set a boundary before you set the boundary. So if you know that you're going to feel guilty because you're going to say no to someone, you're feeling anxious, there's knots in your stomach. What do you do then? There are 4 questions you can ask yourself at that time. What thought am I thinking? Can someone just type in the chat box as I'm sharing it so that everybody gets it? First question is, what thought am I thinking? Second, what belief do I hold? Third, where do I believe my power lies right now? And fourth, what decision do I make? This is a very simple 4-step process that you can use to overcome all the feelings of anxiety that come up for you as you set boundaries. Very, very simple. 4 questions. What thought do I think? What belief am I holding? I'm not giving an example right now because we've given you many examples. But just go through this process internally, write it on a piece of paper. After the decision is clear, set your boundary. That's number 2. Yes, Farah.
Number 3, we've talked about it from the time we started this session. No. 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 No is a complete sentence. Don't be afraid to say no. Do it gracefully.
4th one, setting boundaries doesn't end with setting boundaries. You have to keep on setting the boundaries as many times as it is required for you to be successful. You know, a king cannot say, I will only protect my kingdom once. I will only set the boundary once. As many number of times as somebody tries to encroach, you have to state your boundary again and again with the same smile and the same calmness. No, it's not all right. Yeah, that's the 4th one. Yes, Farah, on to you.
And I think the next one is just don't make assumptions. And I shared that earlier. The most powerful way to observe what is happening for you and around you is to observe without judgment and to stay away from assumptions. And remember the video camera. What will it record? So when you are sharing what you're experiencing, a challenge situation, observe without judgment and express yourself. That's how simple it is.
Beautiful, Farah. And you know, finally, you can only be successful at setting boundaries when you start enjoying the process. If you come from the mindset that why can't people understand what they need to do? It is so useless. I have to explain myself so much again and again. Someone's even typing that in the chat box. Like, it's frustrating. No. Enjoy the process. Every time you get a chance to set a boundary, remember, it is a chance to get some of your energy back. All this energy has leaked out of you as you have given your power away to so many different people, places, situations, and things. And when this trigger shows up and you have to set a boundary, that's the time you know that some more power will now come back to you, because that's not going to be taken away by someone, right? You have the glass cable now. And all this power that you're gathering is going to be used in the fulfillment of your dreams and creating your intentional life. So it is in your best interest to set these boundaries and get your power back. Enjoy the process, accept, embrace the process of setting boundaries. Don't resist it. There again, your power will lead. So those really are our golden nuggets for you. There are 6 of them. All of them are powerful. I hope you all have captured it in the chat box. I'm sure someone has taken a screenshot and they'll share it with you later on. So, Farah, anything you want to say as we end?
I do. I just want to say that I was reading some of the messages. Of course, I'm going to read it later. But this is not an easy process, but it's the start, right? It's a beautiful experience. And every day we're building and setting and restating our boundaries. So yeah, it's really not about do I have it or not. It's a journey we're all on, and every day we feel that sense of liberation when we create boundaries and somebody is really respecting us for it. So I know it's not easy. I just want to say, I saw it on the chat. It's not easy, but we need to start somewhere. So you can start, and if you need any support, please reach out to Alpa and me. And I'm just sharing. I think you can get our connects, of course, and of course I'm on LinkedIn as well. So.
Thank you so much, Farah. It was such a pleasure co-facilitating this with you, and I hope all of you have taken back so much value. Any other questions? Yes, please get in touch with us. We're very happy to answer your questions on this. Welcome back, Kavita. Over to you.
Yes, I just came in without any boundaries. I'm sorry. I'm yeah, both. I mean, we've gotten such good feedback on messages on our groups. I mean, the session was so beautiful, and I think Alpa and Farah, you both facilitated the session so beautifully and so seamlessly. So tempted to say without any boundaries, or rather respecting each other's boundaries. You did it beautifully, and I think that's why people are feeling it. And Farah, I want to still say that, that quote you shared stays with me. Boundaries are the distance at which I can love you and me simultaneously. And that's why we need this. Today's session, this pure learning session, was just awesome. Thank you guys so much. And remember, the smallest step in the right direction ends up being the biggest step in your life. And that's what we all should aim at. Thank you, Farah. Thank you.